Here is a close-up of the ear flap hat and scarf. It is started from the top and it is worked in rows, and you'll notice here when you look at the back of it, it's got a seam that's pretty well hidden here. And then when you work the straight piece, you start from here and several rows of single crochet are in this part. And then you do this little puff stitch in here, then you go back to solid rows, then you finish off, and then you attach your yarn again and work the ear flaps out on each side, and then you come around with slip stitch, and then you add the pom-pom. So we're going to get started with the hat working from this point here. So this is the back side, and this is what the front looks like. So let's get started. And I've already, in the beginning, you chain 52. I'm using the wood Deborah Norville crochet hook, which is really warm and comfortable on my hands to work with. And I started out with the chain 52, and then it says to single crochet in the second chain from hook and in each chain across. So you, in this project, it is important to check your gauge because of it being worked in rows, and you can't make adjustments to the width of your hat, so your gauge needs to be correct. So you just single crochet across this chain, and then I'll get this finished and then I'll come back and show you row 2. So this is the end of row 1. So I'm going to put a single crochet in the last chain. And you'll notice here I left a really long end on my starting chain. And that's because I know I'm going to use this to sew the side seams together when I finish my hat. So you may want to do that when you start. So the other thing you want to check is gauge is important in this project. So you might want to wrap, this is an adult size, so you might want to wrap this around your head after row 1. And if it's like super tight, you might want to go up a hook size, or if it's too loose, you might want to go down a hook size. You could also try heavier weight yarns for a larger size, or smaller weight yarns to get a smaller size. So now at the end of row 1, you just want to chain 1 and turn, and just work single crochet across like that. And I'm going in those top 2 loops of the single crochet stitch. And the color I'm using here is called Granite. And I think it's going to look really beautiful, especially with the gray faux fur pom-pom on top. So you just work in single crochet across row 2, and then each row you work single crochet even up to 6 inches. So you want to just keep crocheting in rows of single crochet until this piece measures 6 inches from the base of your starting chain here, the base of row 1, up to about here. So it'll be 6 inches tall right here. So do that and then come back and I'll show you how to start putting the cute little puff stitches in right here. I've completed 6 inches of my hat, and now I'm ready to start the next round, the next row. So you work it, you chain 1 turn. Let me go back here and do that. Chain 1 turn, single crochet in the first stitch, and then yarn over. I had to put on a new skein right here, so I've got my little knot here. You yarn over and draw up a loop in the next stitch, and then you yarn over, draw up a loop. You got to do that 3 times. So there's twice, and there's 3 times, and then it says yarn over and draw through all the loops on the hook, and that makes like this puff stitch. And right here in this hat, let me get it focused good, is where I'm at. I'm going to do a row of the puff stitches, and then there's a single crochet row, and then another row of the puff stitches. So then after you do the puff stitch, you single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then you do the puff stitch again. So you yarn over, and I'm holding this loop up here. You insert your hook from front to back, draw up a loop, and hold it on your hook. And then I move my finger over and hold it, and then I yarn over again, and I'm holding that strand I just picked up, and then I'm going back in, yarn over, and I'm giving that height here too. So I'm yarn over, go back in, you do that 3 times, and then that whole bunch of loops there is what you want to go through with another strand. So you yarn over and draw that through, and that completes a puff stitch, or they're calling it a popcorn in the pattern. Okay, so then you just single crochet in the next 2, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over, draw a loop up, yarn over, draw a loop up, yarn over, and draw through all the loops. Then you work single crochet in the next 2, yarn over, drop a loop, yarn over, drop a loop, yarn over, drop a loop, yarn over, draw through all the loops on your hook, single crochet in the next 2. So that's how the little popcorn row goes, and it looks like that. I think it's really cute. So the next row is going to be single crochet across, and then there's a popcorn row, and then there's a single crochet row. So complete, this goes 1 through 4, and then you repeat rows 1 and 2 once more, and then you break the yarn, and then I'll come back on camera after you work this part until you finish the hat. And then I'll come back on camera and show you how to do the ear flaps, and then you slip stitch around the whole piece and then put a pom-pom, or faux fur pom-pom on the top. I've completed my 6 inches of single crochets and my rows 1 through 4 of popcorn's pattern, and then I repeated rows 1 and 2 once more, and then the directions say to break my yarn, which means finish off. And not all patterns are the same. They refer to things differently in different patterns, so everybody has their own style. I know that I'm gonna sew the side seams together of the hat when I get done, so when I finish this off, I'm gonna leave an end that's probably about 2 feet long, which is like 24 inches. And then I just made an extra chain there, and then I just pull my yarn all the way out, and that's how I finish off. Okay, so now this is the right side of my work. I love these colors, it's so beautiful. Now the directions are telling me to start the ear flap. So I start with a slip knot on my hook, and it says right side facing, skip the next 7 single crochets. So my right side is the side with the little puff stitches on it. Let me get these scissors out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to skip the first 7 stitches, and then it says join yarn with to the next single crochet. So right here, it's easy to see with bulky yarn. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I'm going to single crochet in here, and to do that I'm going to show you how to join with a single. So you have the slip knot on your hook, you insert your hook in the 8th single crochet there, you yarn over, draw that loop up, yarn over, and draw through 2. And that counts as your first single crochet. And then you crochet, single crochet in the next 9 stitches. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So on row 1 of the ear flap, you will have 10 single crochets total. Now you chain 1 and turn, and you single crochet across until the ear flap measures 3 inches. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll come back on camera, and then we'll start doing some decreasing. So it goes even for 3 inches, and then the next 2 rows are decreases. So I'll come back on camera and finish that. My ear flap now measures 3 inches, so the next row is a decreasing row, and to decrease I am going to insert my hook into the first single crochet, draw up a loop, and insert my hook into the second single crochet and draw up a loop, and then yarn over and draw through all 3 loops on hook. Then I'm going to single crochet down to the last 2 single crochets, so one thing you might want to do too is count how many rows it took to get to 3 inches. So for me it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And so I'll be doing 7 rows on the opposite ear flap also. So I'm down to my last 2 single crochets, and I'm going to draw up a loop in that one, insert my hook, draw up a loop in the next one, and then yarn over and draw through 2. So now that one, instead of 10 single crochets, I have 8 single crochets. So then I chain 1, turn, and I hate that this landed up on black because I know it's harder to see. The next ear flap, I'll show you, it'll be lighter. So I'm going to do the same thing, draw up a loop in each of the first 2 single crochets, draw through all 3 loops on my hook, single crochet down to the next one, the last 2, which is right here, and then I'm going to draw up a loop in each of the next 2 single crochets like that, and yarn over and draw through all 3 loops on hook. And then I finish off, and the way I do that is chain 1, tighten the knot side, and then I get my scissors and I cut back here, and I use that long end and I put it on a needle to sew in my ends. Okay, so that's the first ear flap. Then the directions say to, with right side facing, skip the next 18 single crochets, and then you'll join with a single crochet the next one. So right here, you don't count this one because I worked the first ear flap in there. So I'm going to count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I'm skipping those. I'm going into this one. So if you want, you could put a stitch marker in there. I'm going to have my nail hold it for a minute while I make a slip knot. Okay, so you skip those 18 stitches, and that's the front part of the hat. And then, remember, you start with a slip knot, you insert your hook in the stitch you want to work your single in, you draw up a loop, yarn over, and draw through 2 loops on your hook, and that's joining with the single. So then you start the ear flap just like you did on the first one. So you just single crochet in the next 9, so you'll have a total of 10 on the first row. And then remember, you're going to work 7 rows like you did over here to get your 3 inches. So you're going to work that same thing over here. So you have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Then you chain 1 and turn, and then you work this for 6 more rows. You're going to have a total of 7 rows if that's what it took you to get the 3 inches. And it took me 7 rows. It probably will take you about the same thing. So I'll come back on camera and hopefully I'll be at a white section of this yarn and it'll be easier for you to see the decreasing. Okay, I've completed 7 rows for my 3 inches on the opposite ear flap. And now I'm lucky to have a lighter color here now, so I can show you how to do that decrease better. So right here, you want to insert your hook in the first single crochet like that, draw up a loop, insert your hook in the next one, draw, yarn over and draw up a loop. Now with 3 loops on your hook, you yarn over and draw through all 3, and that's a single crochet decrease. Then you single crochet across to the last 2 single crochets. So this is row 8. And then the last 2 you want to work a decrease over that too. So draw up a loop in this one, draw up a loop, if I can, draw up a loop in this one, yarn over and draw through all 3 loops on hook. Chain 1 and turn, and then you do the same thing. You're going to decrease again. You're going to draw up a yarn over, draw the loop up, go in the next single crochet, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over and draw through all 3, single crochet to the last 2, okay, the yarn is nice and light now. Okay, so insert your hook, yarn over, draw that loop up. I'm holding this here. I'm going to go back in to the next single crochet, yarn over, draw that loop up, yarn over, draw through all 3, and that's the last decrease. So now it says to finish off this one too. So I just do a chain, I tighten the knot side of the chain, and then I cut back here like that. So now I'm ready to put my hat together, and this is the finished hat, and this is the back of the hat, and you can see if you look closely that there's a seam there. So that's what we need to create now. And then it was gathered at the top for the pom-pom, and then there's a slip stitch edge around the outside. So you want to be doing your sewing on the wrong side. So this is the right side where you have the little puff stitches. So what you want to do is bring this together like this and thread your yarn needle and just start matching each row across to the opposite corresponding row on the other side. So my yarn came out here, and I'm just going to take up 1 or 2 loops on each side to connect it. And you want this sewn together good because when you wash it and over time, you don't want the ends to come out. So maybe every inch or so you want to go a couple of times in the same spot, and that will kind of lock it in place there. Years ago when I made my first Afghans, I did not sew my ends in very good. So I saw them get washed and worn and fall apart. So after you do all this work for your project, and especially if you're going to give this away as a gift, you want to make sure that it's sewn together well. Okay, and every once in a while you might want to just kind of tug on this and make sure it's not too loose in there. And then I'm going to go over this a second time here. And you always want to make sure, even if you have to pin this, you want to make sure that you're still on track for the rows. And the way this is working out, because of the color changes, it's almost like you can see that the you're not going to be able to sew it like color to color because it's just not going to match up that way. So it's just off a little bit. And you could fold it together like I have right here. So just go all the way up. And you don't want to take too much because then you'll create a big bulky seam in there. I'm going to go over this one a second time. And I'm doing okay on my lining up my rows when I get near the end. And then this was, I left a long end on my starting chain. And that I was going to use for gathering the top. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and use this one. Okay, when I get down near the end, I'm going to give it one more little tug here. And then I'm going to go over this a couple of times. Just like that. And now what you want to do is go through the unused loops of your starting chain here, and just every couple just gather it like this. You're actually like weaving the needle through the unused loops of the starting chain. This will just, I'll put it, no, this will stay out because this is the wrong side here. There's no need to pick up every single loop. So I'm doing every other loop here. Okay, you go all the way around like this, like this. Okay, now back to the beginning right here. And I want to pull on this gathering rope, and this is bringing the top of the hat together. And I don't want to pull too hard like this. And if you have your starting chain there, you can take that and tie it together, which is what I'm going to do. Or you can just kind of secure it with stitches. So then I would just take these ends and sew them in. Okay. And then when you turn it over to the right side, this is what that stitch looks like, that seam. And then you would take and put one of the pom-poms on top, and I thought the white would look good, or this gray colored one. And the links to everything are listed below. And then all you do to finish this whole project off is to take your yarn and then work a slip stitch all the way around the outside. And I'll show you how to do that in 1 second. So I'm back to show you the very last thing you need to do to finish off your hat. Okay, at any point anywhere around here you can join with a slip stitch. And to join with a slip stitch, let's say I'm going to go right here just before an ear flap, and I'm going to start with a slip knot on my hook. I'm going to insert my hook from front to back, yarn over, bring that loop out, and then bring that through the loop on my hook, and that's joining with a slip stitch. Now I'm just going to slip stitch all the way around the ear flap and the bottom edge of the hat. So that's all you got to do. And when you come back around, you just join with a slip stitch to your first slip stitch. So even when you go around the ear flap, you just ease in as many slip stitches as you need. So you don't want it like pulling. When you get down to the bottom, you just go in every stitch of the bottom of the ear flap. So you just continue around like this. So on this hat, you can see where there's a slip stitch all the way around the ear flaps, and then it went around here and went all the way around. So that's how you complete this hat. And I know it was a long project, but I think it's well worth it. And I love this yarn, and I love these colors, and I think it's really cute. And make sure you watch the video with the matching scarf. It's awesome. So thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to our channel. And the links to everything are listed below this video.